I found myself in a morally complex situation, taking shots at men who were completely unaware of my presence. The clearing before me was chaotic. 6 individuals in total. One man had a knife pressed firmly against another man's throat, while another man was brandishing a gun at a woman nearby. A third man was in the process of tearing the clothes off a young woman, an act that made my blood boil. Without hesitating, I took my first shot, aiming for the man with the knife. The bullet struck him squarely in the forehead, and he crumpled to the ground lifeless, like a marionette whose strings had been cut. The sound of the gunfire startled the man holding the gun, causing him to turn toward me. My next shot found its mark as well, ripping through his throat and silencing any further threats. The third man, who had been assaulting the young woman, instinctively raised his hands in surrender, a universal gesture of defeat. However, I had made up my mind. There would be no prisoners taken today. I fired again, sending a bullet straight to his forehead. Killing these men felt like a necessary action, and I had been conditioned for such moments. Uncle Sam had taught me well, and I had honed my skills over the years, developing a clear understanding of who qualified as the enemy. Once the immediate threat was neutralized, I remained vigilant, scanning the area for any potential dangers. The man and woman who had been targeted rushed over to assist the young woman, who appeared shaken but relieved to be free from her captors. As I observed the unfolding scene in the clearing, I couldn't help but reflect on how I had ended up in this situation. I was in Texas, just south of Presidio, initially on a hunting trip for wild boar. I had settled into my sleeping bag for the night when I was jolted awake by the sound of a woman's scream. Grabbing my AR-15, I instinctively moved toward the noise to investigate. Upon reaching the trees bordering a small clearing, I quickly assessed the situation and recognized the perpetrators for what they were. I knew that I had to act decisively. The man I had shot, as it turned out, was a smuggler. After the confrontation, I approached the 3 survivors to check on the young woman. The man, who appeared to be Latino or possibly Mexican, spoke to me in fairly decent English. His name was Roberto. He explained that he had paid the man with the knife and gun to smuggle his family into the United States and deliver them to his cousin in Las Cruces. They had met the 2 men near the border and, after crossing, were confronted by a third man who demanded more money for his services. This man had begun to assault the young woman when I intervened. I asked Roberto where their vehicle was parked. He indicated it was further up the road from the clearing. I asked if he could drive, and he agreed. Before we left, I searched the bodies for anything useful. To my surprise, I found a total of $5,000. $3,000 on the man with the knife and $2,000 split between the others. I handed all the money to Roberto, instructing him to get his family into the car and follow me to Las Cruces. It would only be a 5-hour drive. When we arrived, I waved goodbye to them, satisfied that I had done something good amid the chaos. With my hunting trip cut short, I returned home to Colorado 3 days earlier than planned. As I pulled into my driveway, I noticed it was unusually crowded with cars. I figured my wife, Anne, had invited some friends over for a card party. However, when I stepped inside, I quickly realized my assumption was only partly correct. There was indeed a gathering, but it wasn't a card party. I found myself in a scene of complete disarray. Anne's best friend, Steph, was sprawled on the couch with a man I didn't recognize. Another woman from Anne's workplace was draped over the back of a chair with one of Anne's male co-workers, whose name escaped me in the moment. As I absorbed the chaos around me, it became clear what awaited me when I ventured toward our bedroom. Glancing toward the guest room, I saw Anne's brother Tom entangled with another one of her co-workers. I felt a sense of dread as I approached our bedroom, hearing a man's voice shout, "I'm almost done. Who's next?" I opened the door and was met with a shocking sight. Anne, caught in a compromising position with her boss Rick. The moment I walked in, I instinctively pulled out my phone and began recording everything. My unexpected appearance triggered immediate chaos. Steph spotted me and shouted, "Oh crap, as she desperately tried to disentangle herself from the man with her. Rick, attempting to save face, stepped back, raising his hands defensively, clearly caught off guard. Tom's expression was one of sheer disbelief as he mouthed, "What the hell? You're not supposed to be here." But it was Anne's face, frozen in terror, that would haunt me for years to come. Rick, trying to assert his dominance, jumped off the bed and assumed a mock karate stance. I couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of the situation. I knew if I attacked him first, I would likely be the one in trouble with the law since he was technically a guest in our home. However, I saw an opportunity. I needed him to make the first move. "Look at you, standing there in that ridiculous pose," I taunted. "You look absurd, flaunting your pathetic excuse for manhood." That did the trick. He lunged at me, believing he could take me down. I was ready. As he charged, I threw my phone at his face, distracting him momentarily. When he raised his hands to shield himself, I seized the opportunity to deliver a punch directly to his groin. He doubled over in pain, clutching himself and dropping to his knees. Calmly, I picked up my phone, then helped him to his feet, twisting his left arm into a lock. I marched him through the house toward the front door. Once we reached it, I shoved him outside, onto the porch, and swiftly shut the door behind me. I turned on the porch light to illuminate the scene. While I dealt with Rick, most of the party guests had dressed and left, except for 3 people. Tom, who insisted on staying to ensure I wouldn't hurt his sister. Steph, who claimed she would support me. And of course, Anne, who was left to confront the fallout of her actions. Bob had just confided in Steph about his decision to divorce his wife. And he felt compelled to explain his reasons, citing that while their marriage had once meant something, the love had dissipated, and he was aware of her infidelity. He clarified that his feelings for other women had always remained mere desires, which he never acted upon. In contrast, he believed and had broken their vows by engaging in an emotional affair that had persisted for over a year. Bob recalled that he had introduced Anne to his brother, promising to leave everyone else behind for her. He had made the same vows she had, and now felt betrayed. He entered their shared bedroom to find Anne sitting on the bed in tears. When he told her to stop crying and pack her things, she protested, claiming that the house belonged to her as well. Bob reminded her of the prenuptial agreement her father had insisted he sign before their wedding, a document that he had signed without fully understanding its implications. Anne's family was wealthy, and her father was adamant about protecting the family business. Bob had been indifferent to the business, but deeply in love with Anne. Years later, after a family incident where his brother was blindsided by his wife's infidelity during a night out, Bob found himself looking into the prenup again. To his shock, he discovered a clause that stipulated that if either spouse cheated, the guilty party would leave with nothing but their clothes. This meant that Anne would be leaving the marriage empty-handed. With this knowledge, Bob took swift action. The next morning, he closed all their joint accounts and opened new ones in his name alone. He sought legal advice and initiated divorce proceedings, finding out that they lived in a no-fault divorce state. When he asked about the implications of Anne's affair with her boss, his lawyer suggested checking the company's policies regarding supervisor-subordinate relationships. Bob retrieved the corporate manual from their home office and confirmed it contained relevant guidelines. With the evidence in hand, Bob's lawyer filed for divorce, serving papers to both Anne and her boss at work, making the scandal public. Shortly after, Anne's father came to visit Bob. The meeting started politely, but it quickly escalated when her father demanded to know why Bob was divorcing Anne. Bob explained the infidelity and invoked the prenuptial agreement, emphasizing that Anne's actions had consequences. Anne's father pleaded with Bob to reconsider, insisting that everyone makes mistakes and that Anne loved him. Bob remained firm, revealing that Anne's affair had been ongoing and involved multiple partners. He pointed out that the prenuptial agreement was explicit about infidelity and was designed to protect the family's interests. The conversation grew tense, and Anne's father seemed to shift blame onto Bob for enforcing the terms of the agreement. Feeling threatened, he warned Bob that hiring a lawyer for her and could complicate matters further. Bob, undeterred, pulled out his phone and revealed a video he had recorded of Anne with her lover, Tom, in their home. He threatened to share the video with family and friends, making it clear that he had evidence of the affair. Anne's father, caught off guard, realized the gravity of the situation and tried to negotiate, but Bob stood his ground. In a surprising turn, Anne's father pulled out a .38 revolver, demanding that Bob hand over his phone to delete the incriminating video. Bob, understanding the severity of the threat, but also feeling defiant, complied, stating that if they pursued legal action, he would unleash everything he had on them. Anne's father deleted the video and left, warning Bob that they would see each other in court. Once alone, Bob sent the video to his mother-in-law, ensuring that the affair would not remain hidden. Shortly after, Anne's father called Bob, furious for sending the video to his wife. Bob, now empowered, retorted that the consequences of their actions would fall on them, not on him. With the lines drawn, Bob prepared for the impending legal battle, determined to protect his interests and confront the emotional turmoil that had unfolded. The caller's voice echoed with anger and disdain as he yelled into the phone, threatening to unleash devastating consequences on the recipient. He mocked the other person's intelligence, highlighting their foolishness for believing they could escape accountability. The caller claimed to possess backup copies of some incriminating material and revealed that he had already shared it with the recipient's wife. His final words were a clear warning. Cross him again, and the entire world would be made aware of their secrets. With that, he hung up, leaving a heavy silence in the aftermath of his tirade. In the wake of this confrontation, the protagonist faced a reality that he had not secured legal representation during his divorce. Surprisingly, just 2 days after the divorce was finalized, he received a call from Steph, a woman he had a past connection with. She asked him point-blank whether he genuinely meant it when he had expressed feelings for her. The protagonist confirmed that he did, and she suggested they meet that evening. Having not been with anyone since filing for divorce, he felt a mix of excitement and apprehension about moving on. Despite his interest, the protagonist wrestled with his old-fashioned morals. He felt that getting involved with someone new while still married to him would have made him a cheater. But now that the divorce was official, he craved companionship. When he asked Steph about her plans for the evening, she proposed a casual date involving dinner, drinks, and conversation with the potential for more. He agreed, suggesting they meet at 6 o'clock. During their dinner, the conversation flowed easily. Steph understood the protagonist well enough to know he wouldn't pursue another woman while still married, which impressed him. She explained how she learned about his divorce, acknowledging that she still had feelings for him, but was conflicted by the past. The protagonist revealed that Anne's infidelity had led to their separation, and while he felt hurt by her actions, he believed she never trusted him enough to communicate her issues. As their date continued, the conversation shifted from the past to their immediate connection. Steph made it clear she liked him, prompting him to ask what her intentions were for the night. She suggested they go back to her place, as it was closer. They left the restaurant and soon found themselves in the intimacy of her bedroom. The night was filled with passion and exploration, and as they lay together afterward, she playfully challenged him, asking if he had the energy for another round. He was surprised by her boldness, admitting he had never ventured into such territory before. Despite feeling exhausted, he found himself intrigued and excited. Steph guided him through new experiences, and their connection deepened as they shared moments of intimacy. When she returned from the bathroom, she brought a washcloth and towel, indicating she intended to stay the night. This gesture surprised him, revealing a level of commitment he hadn't anticipated. The next morning, as they enjoyed a late breakfast together, their dynamic shifted. Over pancakes and bacon, Steph candidly expressed that she was not interested in a long-term relationship. She admitted her struggles with fidelity, but was open to a casual friendship. The protagonist found this honesty refreshing and agreed to her terms, appreciating the lack of pressure in their arrangement. Their relationship blossomed over the next few months, marked by fun and adventure, but the protagonist remained aware that it was not destined for permanence. After 3 months, he received a call from his lawyer, informing him that his lawsuits had been settled, leaving him with a substantial amount of money. This newfound financial stability opened doors. But as his relationship with Steph progressed, she eventually announced that their time together had run its course. Despite this, she expressed a desire to remain friends, and he accepted. In the following months, he explored connections with various women, enjoying the thrill of dating, but finding it difficult to envision a future with anyone. One Tuesday evening, while dining at Tres Amigos, he was approached by a waitress who recognized him. They shared a moment of familiarity, with her recalling an encounter near a bridge. Their conversation revealed that she had moved to Denver in search of better job opportunities. As the waitress went off to place his order, he couldn't help but admire her attractive figure and vibrant personality. He felt a spark of interest and decided that perhaps he should engage with her more in the future, intrigued by the potential for a new connection. With a mixture of nostalgia for his past and hope for the future, he reflected on the unexpected turns his life had taken, promising to take care of himself and those he loved as he moved forward.